Hi everybody, my name's Natalie. Happy English Camp 2020. I've heard that this year's theme is being human, so today I'm going to read you a story. It's called Rindersella. Once upon a time, in a corn fountain, there lived a beautiful girl. Her name was Rindersella. Now Rindersella lived with her muggly other and her two sad bisters. And in that same corn fountain, there lived a very pransome hince. One day, the pransome hince decided to have a bancy fall. He invited people from riles amound, especially the pitch people. But Rindersella could not go because all she had to wear were some old wordy dags. So she just cats down and scried. And she was kittin' there a-scryin' when all of a sudden her Gary Fodmother appeared. And she waved her magic wand, and all of a sudden there appeared before her a sig boach and hicks white sources to take her to the Bancy Fall. But now she said to Rindersella, "Rindersella, you must be home before midnight, or I'll purn you into a tumpkin." So Rindersella went to the Bancy Fall, where she met the very pransome hince, who she had been watching through a wooden hinda. She and the pransome hince danced all night till midnight, and they lell in fuv. Suddenly, the mid-clock struck night. Rindersella staced down the rares, and she beached the roddum, she slopped her dripper. The next day, the pransome hince went all over the corn fountain, looking for the beautiful burl who had slopped her dripper. He came to Rindersella's house. He tried it on Rindersella's muggly other, and it fitted it. He tried it on her two sister ugglers, and it fitted it. He tried it on Rindersella, and it fitted it. It was exactly the side rise. The next day, Rindersella and the pransome hince were married, and they lived everly hafter happerward. Now the moral of the story is this: if you ever loll in fuv with a pransome hince, be sure and slop your dripper. I'm thinking that wasn't the right version of the story. So this is my sister Christina. Can you please read the one that you have? I think we might have gotten ours mixed up.
Sure. Once upon a time, in a foreign country, there lived a very beautiful girl. Her name was Cinderella. Now, Cinderella lived with her ugly mother and her two bad sisters. In the same foreign country, there lived a very handsome prince. One day, the handsome prince decided to have a fancy ball. He invited people from miles around, especially the rich people. But Cinderella could not go because all she had to wear were some old dirty rags. So she just sat down and cried. As Cinderella was sitting there crying, all of a sudden her fairy godmother appeared. Then the fairy godmother waved her magic wand, and there appeared before her a big coach with 6 white horses to take her to the fancy ball. But now, she said to Cinderella, "Cinderella, you must be home before midnight, or I'll turn you into a pumpkin." So, Cinderella went to the fancy ball, where she met the very handsome prince, who she had been watching through a hidden window. When she and the handsome prince danced all night till midnight, and they fell in love. Suddenly, the clock struck midnight. Cinderella raced down the stairs, and as she reached the bottom, she dropped her slipper. The next day, the handsome prince went all over the foreign country, looking for the beautiful girl who had dropped her slipper. Then he came to Cinderella's house. He tried it on Cinderella's ugly mother. It didn't fit. He tried it on her two ugly sisters, and it didn't fit. He tried it on Cinderella, and it did fit. It was exactly the right size. The next day, Cinderella and the handsome prince were married, and they lived happily ever after. Now, The moral of this story is, if you ever fall in love with a handsome prince, be sure to drop your slipper.
I think that was the correct version of the story. I think that was the correct version of the story. I think that was the correct version of the story. I think that was the correct version of the story. I don't know. Being human means being perfect, right? Or does being human mean being imperfect?